Let's talk about the new launch from Bella Beaute Bar. They are launching a new eyeshadow palette as well as 10 new eyeshadow singles, and this collection is the Poison Garden collection. So in the summer they launched a Secret Garden, and now there's a Poison Garden palette, and this one is just in time for spooky season. I feel like this is really the perfect time to be launching this. I'm so excited to show you everything. So first up, of course, we have the Poison Garden palette, and we have a little spooky entrance gate to a Poison Garden on the cover. I love the theming as always, and the inside color story. Oh my goodness. Is it a grungy dream? I mean, I absolutely love the pop of these two blues. One is matte and one is a iridescent shimmer. So there's 8 shimmers and 2 of them are holochromes. So the shade Wolfsbane and also Snake Root. And there's a couple of different finishes. Of course, be showing you some detailed swatches of all of the shimmer shades and talking about the textures and finishes and the colors. I will also be showing you some swatch comparisons and these 2 looks that I created with the palette. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the single eyeshadows that are also launching. So the top 5 here are holochromes, and then the bottom shades are a mix of multichromes and duochromes, and I will again be showing you detailed swatches of these shades. And these single eyeshadows from Bella Beaute Bar are hand pressed, so they do have a different formula for sure from the palette. And I will send the palette and the singles in PR, so thank you so much to Bella Beaute Bar for sending them over to me. And I do have an affiliate code with the brand. I will put it up on the screen in case you're interested, and anything from this collection or anything else on the Bella Beaute Bar website. And thank you so much if you do use my code. So let's get into some of the pricing details as well as the launch details. So this collection is launching September 13, which is on my birthday. There's so many different launches happening on my birthday. How exciting. And it is going to be at 12 p.m. EST. So all the holochromes are $17 each. Then there's 3 multichromes that are not holochromes, and those are $17. And then there are 2 duochromes, which are $14 each. And then of course you can use the code on top of that to save some more money. And then the palette is $75, which is definitely a higher price tag, but of course you're getting your special shades, you're getting multichromes, holochromes, as well as a sequin shade, which is actually what I think the Poison Hemlock shade is. So I want to give you all the information that I can on the palette and the single eyeshadow so you can make an educated decision if you want to purchase anything from this collection. So let's get into the detailed swatches, some swatch comparisons, and then these 2 looks, and then I'll give you some of my thoughts at the end of the video. First up are the palette swatches. I'm going to have to group these because there's so many shimmer shadows to swatch, and everybody and their mom is launching something Fridays. So unfortunately no individual swatches per shimmer shadow. You'll still be able to see the texture close up and the shift. So the top shade is Opium Poppy, and this one is a almost neon green straight on with an orangey yellow base to it, and it shifts just a little bit to purple. And this one is definitely pretty sheer, and it's very smooth even in the pan. And when you look at it, it looks pretty smooth. It doesn't feel squishy or overly emollient. And then Belladonna below that is so cool. It's a deep teal base with a pinky purple flash straight on, and it shifts to like a yellow gold all the way to green. It is such a shifty shade. Like the shift is so obvious in that one. And this one's also very smooth and also about the same texture as the previous shade. Maybe just a tad bit creamier if anything, but super nice, not overly squishy. Then below it is Angel's Trumpet, and this one is a beautiful, really bright orange straight on. It's a little bit on the sheer side. I see just a tiny bit of a base to it, but I can't put my finger on it. And this one shifts to gold. And then below that is Wolfsbane, and this one definitely is a holochrome. And this one is kind of hard for me to describe. I feel like it's like a taupey, pinky, purple with a little bit of like a light beige almost straight on and shifting to purple. And then it has, of course, the hollow flex throughout it. None of these shades are overly flaky or overly textured. The next set of 4, we have Poison Hemlock at the top. I don't think really shifts. Maybe I see a little bit of a greenish shift. Yeah, maybe a little bit, but it's not like overtly shifty. And this one is a really cool grayish dark teal shade with just a bunch of flecks throughout it. I see green, pink, blue, orange, just really dimensional shade. And then below that is Poison Ivy, and this is like a blue-brown type of shade. However, the brown is more of a cooler tone brown. It's not like a super warm, not a warm chocolatey brown, and it shifts to purple. And then below that is Wisteria, and this one is more of a sheer shade, almost like an iridescent, but a bit more opaque. This one is just maybe a tad bit squishy if you really push down in the pan. Spreads really nicely. This one also has a little bit of a flaky texture to it, but smooths out completely. And this one is a cobalt blue shifting to ultraviolet. And then below that, the last shimmer shade in the palette is Snake Root. This is a holographic charcoal shade, no shift. And this one is pretty smooth, but slightly textured. Here are 5 of the single eyeshadows that are launching. And these are all hollows. Some of them are shiftier than others. So the top shade is Ghoulish Hollow. And this one is just kind of like your true holographic eyeshadow. It's very silvery, doesn't shift, but it does have the hollow rainbow in it. And this one feels pretty dry and slightly flaky to the touch. In general, most of the handmade single eyeshadows from Bella Beaute Bar do have a drier texture to them, but sometimes some of the shades have a little bit more kind of slip to them, and some of them I have gotten that were a little bit on the squishy side, and I will go through that as I'm talking through these. Below that is Eerie Hollow. This one is a little bit more translucent. This is green shifting to blue to purple with a little bit of a light brown base to it, and this one is also dry but pretty smooth. Hex was definitely a little bit more creamy to the touch. This one is a very cool toned plum straight on, shifting to orange to gold to a lime green, and it has just a little bit of texture to it, but it smooths out, especially because it is a little bit creamier. Below that is Pumpkin Hollow, and this one is like a peachy pink straight on with almost no base to it, so it's pretty sheer. The shift is pretty subtle in this one, and this one is drier to the touch. And the last shade is Crypt Hollow. I would say this one's more of a satin type of shade. It's not very shiny, but it does have that holographic sparkle throughout it, and it has just a little bit of a pink flash straight onto it. And this one is also pretty dry. And here are the other 5 single eyeshadows that are launching with this collection. Top shade is Spellcaster, and this is a smooth but dry, more topper-like shade that is purple straight on and shifts to yellow gold green. Below that is Amulet. I feel like this one is kind of similar to the shade in the palette, however it's a lot more opaque and definitely packs a bit more of a punch and has a totally different formula. It's slightly flaky in the pan, pretty hard pressed, and it was a little hard to pick up. It's a little chunky, and just the way that it picks up in the pan is different from some of these other shades. Below that is a Magic Potion, and this one has like a light yellow flash straight on with a pink base shifting blue to purple. And the shade feels a little bit gritty to the touch, but not in a irritating way. It's just very subtle. Below that is Book of Shadows, which is a black base multi-chrome shade. This one definitely reminds me of Clionadh's Sandblast, and very smooth. It's like a reddish orange straight on with a shift to gold to green. And the last shade is Evil Apothecary, and this one felt the most similar in texture to Amulet, so it's really hard pressed and just picks up a bit differently. So this shade is like a cream almost straight on with some hints of orange and yellow, and it shifts blue to purple, and it's just super dimensional. It also has a purple base to it. It is super shifty, really fun shade. Taking Lantana and putting it right into the crease for the first look. And it's just gonna be kind of blown out all the way around. Next, taking Poison Oak. I'm just gonna put that right on this outer corner. really try to keep it focused out here and making sure I'm leaving room to blend it out. And then just taking it underneath my lower lash line. Next I'm going to take a fluffier brush, pick up just a little bit of Poison Oak, just a little bit, and just start to wing it out. Kind of in a triangular shape on this outer corner. I'm going to take a little bit more and just really drag it outwards. And then I think I'm going to take a little bit more lantana, just blend it in here and underneath, and a little bit more Poison Oak, and just slowly take it further and further out. And then for the shimmer, I really want to use Angel's Trumpet. I mean, look at this. And it has a green base to it, it looks like, a little bit on the edges there. So I think this is going to go, oh yeah. That is so pretty with this look. And I'm just going to bring it on the inner corner as well. And just bring it up into my crease. Just a little bit. It's going to end up there anyway. And then taking just a little bit of Opium Poppy, and I'm going to pop that on the inner corner. And here's the first finished look. For the second look, I'm going to create an eyeshadow wing. I'm going to use Death Camas. And it's going to go on this outer corner. And I'm just using the F05 Game Beauty brush. Pretty much most of the time I'm using this brush or something very similar. And then I'm just going to slowly feather it out and just like really wing it out here. I'm just going to build on it a little bit more. Then I'm going to take Hellbore and I'm going to blend it into it. Like focusing on my forehead, and I feel offended, and I'm going to layer that over it. And it's just going to mix together and create such a cool shade. And then I don't want to really add more here, so I'm just going to use this brush to kind of feather the edge and soften it up. And I'm going to take this kind of brush where it's going to cover a lot and it's going to lay down very gently. And I'm just picking up Stinging Kettle. Stinging? I've never heard of that. And I'm going to bring that out here, and I'm just going to blend it inwards. But I don't want it to be as deep as it looks in the pan. It's going to create more of a wash of this color. And it's exactly how I wanted it. And now, I'm so excited. Picking up a Belladonna. And I just misted my brush. I'm going to start working that along my lash line. And then up a little bit. I'm going to leave this purposefully blank. Could also create an eyeshadow wing with this one. Would be really cool. And then we're going to do the swoop. I kind of feel like maybe my finger would have been better for this because this is how Wisteria picks up. It's pretty flaky and chunky. But we're going to... Ooh! We're going to try it anyway. Definitely spreading. I misted it with just some water. Oh, that is such a fun shade. And then I'm going to bring it up above here and then blend it downwards just a little bit. Really want this to be super, super bright and highlighted. I'm going to bring it on the inner corner as well. And here's the second finished look. So I didn't have a chance to use the single eyeshadows in this video. It's a lot of eyeshadow to be trying out. And I got this palette on Wednesday and is launching tomorrow. Now that I'm filming this after work, I actually just got home from the train. I try to renew my makeup best I could, and I'm gonna finish filming this video so I can try to hopefully edit it and get it up a little bit before the launch, so I can really only speak on from swatching these and having used some other Bella Beaute Bar single eyeshadows from past collections. I can definitely say that these are the same handmade pressed formula as the others. So if you're familiar with their hand pressed single eyeshadows, you'll know what you're getting into. Majority of these are on the drier side, which I do appreciate having having hooded oily lids. Some of these are definitely flaky and a little bit trickier to use. Between being flaky and being dry, sometimes there might be a little bit more of a learning curve using these. I definitely recommend a tacky primer and also recommend doing your eyeshadow before your base for sure with all of these shades. Now there are two shades right here. I think I mentioned it in the detail swatches, and that is Amulet and the Apothecary shade down here. They're a little bit different. They feel harder pressed. They're flaky. They're even harder to kind of pick up. The Apothecary shade did stain on me. It's actually still a little bit of a stain after swatching them last night, and I've washed my hand and I've even used makeup remover. So I just wanted to mention that in case it's something that you don't like. These holochromes definitely seem very on par with their other holochromes. So the holo, it's not really evenly dispersed. It's more scattered. Personally do prefer the holochromes that they have in their palettes. It just seems like the holo particles are a little bit more better dispersed throughout the shadow, no matter how you use it. But these definitely pack a punch. So let's talk about the eyeshadow palette, which I'm especially excited about. Now, I've only used this palette 3 times. I actually did a look for work this morning, and I used these 3 shades and Wolfsbane, and it did crease on me just a little bit throughout the day, but it was almost, I would say, around 10 hours of wear, and I was sweating and I could just easily tap it out. I didn't use a tacky primer, so I had a little bit of the holo fallout underneath my eyes just over here. So that's why I mentioned using a tacky primer with these for sure, just to really ensure the longevity. The mattes I used so far performed all really beautifully. No issues. These feel right on par with all their other eyeshadow palettes that I've tried, but I haven't used all the shades, and I'm really excited to use this one. So I might do that in a reel. Definitely make sure you're following me on Instagram. I really love the tones in here, and I really love the depth of some of these shades. I do think these are predominantly mid-tones with some deeper shades, so a little bit more of a grungier, darker kind of color story. As for the shimmers, none of these are overly squishy or overly emollient. Some of them are more creamier than others, and the only really kind of squishy shade in here is Wisteria, and then some of them have a little bit of flakiness to them and are probably going to be easier to apply with a finger, because that way you can really just smooth it out with the pressure of your finger. Though I did have a good experience applying this slightly flaky shade with a brush, but I feel like I would prefer to just go in with my finger. Generally speaking, that is how I prefer to apply my shimmer shadows. So I'm really excited about all these shades. I love Belladonna. This is like fall in an eyeshadow. So there are a lot of special shades, which does drive up the cost. So for sure, something to really think about if you feel like this palette is worth it to you. Do you see yourself using it a lot? Do you like all the variations of the matte tones, the shimmers, etc.? Angel's Trumpet is also a favorite in here. I think all the shimmers in here are just truly beautiful. So I'm really excited about this palette, and I can't wait to use it some more. And make sure you stay tuned for my end of the month palette rank to hear my final thoughts on this palette, and let me know in the comments below if you will be picking anything up and which look was your favorite. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.